Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another live stream. It is Wednesday. We are going to talk about Marco Silva today and we're going to specifically talk about who Everton's options are if Marco Silva is to get the sack. Now I just want to start off by saying I don't particularly think Marco Silva is going to get the sack at any time soon. He is walking a really tight line. Obviously we've got the West Ham game after the international break and then we've got the Cup game, and I think if he doesn't manage to pick up a win out of either of those games, I do think he'll probably more than likely to be sacked. However, I think he's got the backing of the club at the minute. Obviously, if he was to have been sacked after our previous defeat to Burnley, then I think it would have been done before now. So I still think he's got a little bit of time. I think for me, the key thing with Marco Silva is about how he sets up next week against West Ham. Obviously, we haven't got a game this weekend. Obviously, it's the international break, so he's got a little bit of a break himself. The players have got a little bit of a break. It's a big time for us to come back refreshed, and it's a time for him to come back refreshed with some new ideas as well. I dare say he'll have spoken to, to some members of the board. I dare say he'll be, obviously he'll be aware of the conversations regarding to managers coming in to possibly replace him if he is to get the sack. And I think Marco Silva can give himself a little bit more time with Evertonians as early as 2 o'clock on that day, because I think as soon as he puts the team news out, that will set and install a lot of Evertonians' opinions on Marco Silva, because recently obviously we've seen him go with 2 central defensive midfielders constantly. We've seen him go with Gylfi Sigurdsson in the number 10, and we've seen him go with 1 striker up front, and we all know that those 3 options very clearly do not work. So I think if he approaches the West Ham game, maybe we see a little bit of a different formation. Maybe he drops the 2 defensive midfielders, maybe he brings in Wobie and Bernard in the same team. Maybe he brings in 2 up front. It might give him a little bit more time in the eyes of Evertonians, but it's a conversation that we can't really skip over. It's a conversation that we can't really ignore, because I think it's fair to say a lot of Evertonians now want Marco Silva gone, and there's a lot of discussion about who's going to come in to replace him, or who Evertonians want to come in to replace him if he is to be sacked. Now again, like I said, there's nothing to say that he's close to being sacked, there's nothing to say that he will get sacked, but one thing's for sure, and that is that the form hasn't been good enough whatsoever recently. The performance haven't been good enough whatsoever, and if he cannot sort this out, then he is going to lose his job. If he cannot become a little bit more open to changing the formation, become a little bit more open to changing the personnel of the team, then he is going to lose his job. So we're going to talk about them today. We're also going to talk about the club and the club's involvement in this, because I think, looking at the previous 4 permanent managers, disregarding David Unsworth, obviously, because he was only here on a temporary basis, I think it screams a lot about the club's ambition, and I think it screams a lot about the club's way of appointing managers, and for me, it needs to change massively, because if we're going to be looking to breaking into the top 4, breaking into the top 6, challenging for the Champions League, challenging for Premier League titles, like CEO Denise Barrett-Baxendale said that we would be in the coming years, obviously when we move into the stadium. She was the one that said that in the last Everton AGM. Then we need to be a little bit more proactive when appointing managers, and we need to be appointing managers that have got a CV behind them, and managers that are proven winners, not managers that may or may not do well or have done well at other clubs that are smaller than Everton, and now we're giving them the big chance to do well at a bigger club. We can't really be appointing managers that have got the potential to be good. We need to be appointing proven winners. So we're going to talk about that today. Carl says the Ajax manager, people saying it's only the Dutch league, but he is a winner, won that and took them to the UEFA Champions League semi-final. Yes, Erik ten Hag, we're going to talk about him a little bit later on the stream. Wayne says agreed, he worked at a club which Everton should model themselves on because we lost our identity. Fair enough, I agree. Chris says, hi mate, hope you well. Hi Chris, I'm not doing too bad, hope you well yourself. Wayne says, Safe Campbell, what's up lad, you good? Yeah, I'm not too bad Wayne, hope you're doing good yourself. James says, if Everton want to take the club to the next level, it's going to be a manager like Jose Mourinho. We're also going to talk about Jose Mourinho today. I've got a list of a load of managers to talk about. Wayne also says, nah, ranked off. Fair enough. Cal says, Jose would never join us. Get that out of your head, Jamie. Well, Jose Mourinho's actually turned down a job in the French league, I believe it was today, and his excuse for turning it down was that he badly wants to return to England at the quickest time possible in pretty much any job. So obviously that's quite a promising thing to hear from Jose Mourinho, especially considering he is one of the main candidates in the conversation to replace Marco Silva if he is to be sacked. Obviously rejecting a job in a different country and saying he badly wants to return to the Premier League, and he wants to return to the Premier League as soon as possible, is a little bit of a plus, I suppose. Jamie says, you never know. Carl, I agree, you never know, especially with money these days. Carl says, I do, we don't have the funds he would want. I think we do. We've given stupid amounts of money to managers over the last 5 years. Chris says, Mourinho could be tempted by the job in Merseyside. He's managed in London and Manchester. He has. David says, I honestly think Marco will surprise us all and play 4-2-3-1. And Jamie says, David Moyes. No, I don't want David Moyes back, but we're going to talk about David Moyes as well. But yeah, just touching on Marco Silva before we go into talking about, any, replacement managers, because I wanted to be a little bit respectful to Marco Silva. Obviously, Marco Silva's come in and, he's a year into his cycle. He's a year and 8 games into his cycle as Everton manager, and hasn't quite worked how we would have liked it to have worked yet. Obviously, we've had a shocking start to the season. We're not picking up points anywhere. We're being beaten by teams that we should be expected to be beaten, and the teams that, are the higher teams in the league. Well, obviously, we've only played Manchester City this season, and we got absolutely, turned over by them. Yes, we put in a better performance, but we were still beaten on the day, and we were beaten quite fairly on the day. Obviously, with Marco Silva, he coming from Watford. He, previously had managed in Portugal, managed Hull, got relegated with Hull, and then obviously come in and had a decent spell for Watford, but then sort of tailed off when we started to show an interest, and then we kept that interest going, and then obviously we made them our permanent manager. And I think, as with Roberto Martinez, as with Ronald Koeman, as with Marco Silva, we're bringing in managers that have done well in Premier League clubs that aren't as big and aren't as grand as Everton Football Club. Now, I want to say again, before I go further into this team, because it's going to be quite an in-depth one, I don't mean any disrespect to any football club in the Premier League that I'm going to talk about today, because it's probably going to come across like I'm disrespecting some football clubs. But honestly, Southampton, Ronald Koeman managed Southampton, they're not a bigger club than Everton. Marco Silva managed Watford and Hull, they aren't bigger clubs than Everton. Roberto Martinez managed Wigan, they aren't a bigger club than Everton. Obviously, Roberto Martinez won the FA Cup with Wigan, but got relegated in the same season. Ronald Koeman done okay with Southampton, and Marco Silva done okay with Watford to a degree before it all went downhill. We're at the stage now where our last 4 permanent managers appointed after David Moyes, who obviously was here for a massively long time, for over 10 years. We seem to be appointing managers that have done okay for, middle to lower tier clubs in the Premier League that, might have the potential to go on to be a special manager, if they've been given the right resources and if they're given the, the right sort of funds and the right club. And that's the approach that we've had now for quite some time. And for me, it needs to just be scrapped straight away, because very rarely do you see a manager that, is managed at an okay level, so say a mid-table Premier League club, and then they've been given this massive opportunity to manage a top club, and they've gone on and took advantage of it. You could argue Mauricio Pochettino at Spurs, but even then he's still not won a trophy at Spurs, and he's still massively bottled the only Champions League final that they've been in. So for me, listen, I think if Marco Silva is to leave the football club, and if we are to look at a new manager, this is why I was talking on Monday about my, worry about this situation, because I don't particularly trust the board to go out there and appoint a proven winner. I don't particularly trust the board to go out there and appoint somebody that we know can come into this team and sort this mess out, because we are in an absolute catastrophical mess at the minute as a football club and as a team. And somebody like Eddie Howe, somebody like Sean Dyche, who we'll go into talking about it in a little bit more detail later on, will not sort this out. We cannot go for another manager that's done okay at a Burnley or done okay at a Bournemouth and may potentially be able to take that next step up. We need to be getting a manager like Jose Mourinho. We need to be getting a manager like Laurent Blanc or even Rafa Benitez to an extent, that have been there and done it at the highest level, won Premier Leagues, won Champions Leagues, taking teams into those, next levels, because the likes of Eddie Howe has never done it, and he might be a sound lad, and he might be an Evertonian at heart. Sean Dyche might have done fantastically well with Burnley when he took them to the Europa League, but he's never taken us to that next level. We can't be sitting here as a football club and say our expectation is to break into the Champions League, our expectation is to be challenging for the Premier League, our expectation is to be winning all these trophies, because that's what we're doing, because that's what the message is coming out of every AGM. And I understand the AGMs are there to, to create positivity and to spin positivity, and they're not going to sit there realistically and go, yeah, well, basically we just want to be in and around 8th to 15th every single season, and if that, then we're all right with that. They're not going to say that. They're obviously going to come out and say we want to be playing in the Champions League, we want to be fighting for Premier League titles. So if that is the ambition of the football club, then that ambition needs to be matched with whoever is coming in, because we're not even 2 years into a 5-year cycle with Marco Silva, and if Marco Silva's not the right man for the job, then he's not the right man for the job and he has to go. But that means we're then taken back to the first year of the 5-year cycle, and we're in the exact same position as we was when Martinez was sacked and when Ronald Koeman was sacked, and obviously when Sam Allardyce was sacked. So we've had 4 permanent managers there. We've had Roberto Martinez, we've had Ronald Koeman, we've had Sam Allardyce, and we've had Marco Silva since David Moyes. Now obviously, not looking much further back to David Moyes, we'll talk about Moyes in a little bit, but those 4 managers have come in and have been given, a year, 2 years, Roberto Martinez a little bit more, and what hasn't worked, so we've sacked him, and then we've had to go back to square one. And I don't mind going back to square one if the person that's in charge isn't the right man for the job. And if Marco Silva doesn't turn out to be the right man for the job, which it's looking that way at the minute, then fair enough, get rid of him and bring somebody in. Don't bring somebody in that's not got the experience to take us to the next level and then sit there and talk about how we want to be taken to the next level. I've got no issue with Eddie Howe and Sean Dyche. I think they've done fantastically well for their respective clubs. But with all due respect, like I said at the start of the team, we're not Bournemouth and we're not Burnley. And our expectation every season isn't to finish with between 5th and 8th. And if that's it, then that's a decent season. We've got, a lot more money than both of those clubs. We've got a bigger fan base. We've got a bigger stadium. Our expectation, according to the football club themselves, not fans, according to the club themselves, is to be challenging for the Champions League, is to be in and around the positions of your Arsenals, your Chelseas, your Manchester United, your Tottenhams. So how can we go out there and appoint a manager that's not at the experience to take us to that next level? So like I said, we'll talk more about managerial candidates in just a bit, but that already knocks the likes of Eddie Howe and Sean Dyche on the head, because yes, they've done well for their respective clubs, yes, they've been good managers, but have they been the manager that meets our expectation? No, they haven't. So this is where the ball come in, and this is where the whole system needs to change for me around Everton Football Club. I'm just going to tweet today's team out so everybody knows we are live on the channel, so everybody can get involved. I just want to say a massive thank you as well for all of the support on Monday's stream. It was absolutely unbelievable. We literally got, just checking it there, it's nearly got 1.5k views. We gained a few subscribers from it as well. We've now hit over 950 subscribers, so a massive thank you for that. It really does mean a massive amount to me. Like I said, we're well on the way now to our 1,000 subscriber mark, and that'd just be absolutely unbelievable if we could hit that as soon as possible. So a massive thanks for all of the support on Monday night's stream. It really does mean a massive amount to me. Cal said if we get the Ajax manager, Gylfi will go. If the Ajax manager had come in, if Erik ten Hag had come in, and he would improve our squad massively, and he'd have the capabilities and the facilities to take us to that next level that we want to be at, and that means Gylfi Sigurdsson has to go, then that means Gylfi Sigurdsson has to go, doesn't it? And Cal also says, I think the Ajax manager will bring Ziyech, Neves and Bergwijn. I fucking hope so, mate. That'd be unbelievable. Cal also says, I just want Keane to score. I don't get why people moan at DCL who was gotten 4 goals and people can't say it was only the chef. We'd be because Keane was in the Lincoln back pocket. Fair enough. Shabba says, we can't even sack a manager right. It should have been done 5 minutes after the Burnley joke. So we would have had 2 weeks to try and sort it out, for fuck's sake. There you go, and that's why I don't think he'd be sacked before the West Ham game. David says that's 100 million plus, Cal, and who leaves to make space? Good question. Wayne said if we don't pick up points soon, we'll be in trouble. December fixtures are scary. I agree, spot on. Cal says Ziyech, release clause of 25 million. Pay it. Let's get it fucking paid. David says at the minute I wouldn't trust the board to pick up a Mackie D's. Exactly. Cal says I want a manager like Klopp. He is always positive and never down. Always motivated his players, and when he is at the fault, blames himself. Unlike Silva, who blames the players plus Klopp as the fans. Fair enough. Chris says, I would go for Mourinho if I was Everton. He could be monitoring Tottenham just in case Pochettino leaves, but would Mourinho say Chelsea and go to Tottenham? That's the thing. Probably. Jose Mourinho's a little bit of a mercenary with football, so it wouldn't surprise me, but if we get there first, I've got no doubt he'd take the Everton job, in my opinion. We'll talk about him in just a second. Cal says, I think Koeman went wrong because his tactics were around Giroud, who was his main target, but the deal never happened, and all we did that year was throw crosses into the box. Fair enough. Wayne says, if you want to be a world-class club, you need a world-class manager to lead us. I agree, spot on. And TJ says, Cam just joined. Sorry, have you already spoken about Moyes? I haven't yet. We're going to speak about managerial candidates just a little bit later on in the stream, but like I said, we're talking generically now about the football club, because this is why I was a little bit hesitant, and this is why I said in my instant match reaction on Saturday afternoon that I'm starting to lose patience, because I really don't trust the club to go out there and have a pair of bollocks and go after the likes of Mourinho, or go after the likes of Laurent Blanc, or a Rafa Benitez, or even an Allegri, ex-Juve manager. I don't trust them. I really can see that if Marco Silva leaves the club, it will be managers like Sean Dyche, it'll be managers like Eddie Howe, it will probably be managers like Mikel Arteta and David Moyes who they'll go after, and we'll talk about the positives and negatives of all of those in a second. But for me, we need to match the ambition that the club are coming out and saying, because Eddie Howe's been a fantastic manager for Bournemouth. Bournemouth's expectations are massively different to Everton's expectations, very similar to Burnley's expectations with Sean Dyche, and that's fair enough. That they are, a totally different club to Everton. I'm not happy bringing a manager in on the basis that our expectation is to finish mid-table every year, because that's not where I want to see Everton. I'm an Evertonian that's grew up and never seen Everton win a trophy, never seen Everton lift a trophy. My dad sitting downstairs has watched Everton win European Cup Winners' Cups. He's watched Everton all over the world. He's watched us lift cups at Wembley. I've never seen any of that, so I'm not settling for mid-table, because that's not good enough whatsoever for our football club. And I'm not saying that Eddie Howe hasn't got the capabilities to, take his game to the next level and manage a team into the top 6 and manage a team into the top 4 if he's given the capabilities, if he's given the resources. Same with Sean Dyche, but I don't think we're the club at the minute to test that out on, because we've tried that with our past 4 previous managers and it hasn't worked. So now it's about time that we grow a pair of bollocks and we go out there and get a Serie A winner. What I want to see is if Marco Silva leaves this club, I want to be sitting here thinking, who's the next Everton manager, and I want a manager to come in and for me to be sitting there and get that Eddie Hearn gif out, get that Eddie Hearn video out where he's pointing at whoever he's pointing at. I think it's Tony Bellew, and I want to be looking at Marcel Brands and go, this man here has got a set of bollocks on him. Marcel Brands has got a set of bollocks on him, because I want to see that. I want to be able to say that, because we've brought in a manager that's a proven winner, proven in the Premier League, and can take us to that next level. Whereas I don't have any faith that Eddie Howe or Sean Dyche should do that, because they've never done it previously. And don't get me wrong, when you look at a managers like that, you are talking about a Jose Mourinho, you're talking about a Laurent Blanc, and there's negative to those as well that we'll talk about. But for me, I think it sets the stall out straight away. We can't be coming out and saying we want to be a club challenging for the Champions League, we want to be a club challenging for the Premier League, and then appointing managers that have only really ever finished mid-table or at the most pushed into the Europa League, because that shouldn't be our final target for me. Cal says, I want the sport managers. Football is so fun to watch. Fair enough. Wayne says, would take Pochettino off the Spurs sack. Cal says, Cam for manager. Hopefully. And David says, Ped and Baz for manager and Michael B for manager. Yeah, let's get us all in to manage Everton. It can't be any worse than what's going on now. So yeah, like I said, it automatically for me sort of nails out a few managerial candidates. Obviously, like I said, I've got no issue with Sean Dyche. I've got no issue with Eddie Howe. I just don't think that they've got the experience to come in and sort this mess out. We're in a bad mess at the minute. We're not in a transition stage where a manager could come in and he could, add his little bits and he could add his little managerial techniques and take us to that next level. We are in a shit stage where we need a top class manager with the morale, with the ability to pick the players up, and with the ability to coach these players through the rest of the season and then assess in the summer, because at the minute we are in a shocking state of affairs. And this isn't anything to say that Marco Silva's going to get sacked in recent time. No, an Everton Football Club, I wouldn't be surprised if we were beaten by West Ham. We were beaten the next 3 games and he was still in the job, because it's Everton. But anyway, going into talking about replacements, because that's what we are on Steam to do today. Obviously, it would be silly of us to absolutely, disregard this topic. It would be silly of us to not talk about it, because it's so prominent with the Everton fan base. And yet it mightn't be likely, it mightn't be close to happening yet. Yet the media might want to talk about it an awful lot, but we're Everton fans, and at the end of the day, every time I log onto Twitter now, I'm seeing a different manager linked with the Everton job, so we're here to talk about that, and that's what I'm going to do. So obviously, I want to go with the first, I want to, go through a list. I've got a list of a load of managers here, and I'm going to try and give negatives and positives to them all. So obviously, the first one that jumps out is Mikel Arteta. Now, obviously, the positives to Mikel Arteta, he's got the connection with Everton Football Club. One thing he definitely brings us the awareness of the club. He brings the feel of the club. He understands what it's like to put that blue shirt on. He understands what it's like to play for Everton, and he's played in a David Moyes side that absolutely demanded 110% of effort, 110% of fight, 110% of passion every single week in, week out, without failure. So we will bring that instantly to the club, that no fight, that no sort of giving up, that pure fight that we've been massively crying out for a while now. Like I said, he's been on the bench next to Pep Guardiola for quite some time now. He's been Pep Guardiola's right-hand man, which again, there's many worse managers to be the right-hand man to than, arguably one of the greatest to ever do it. Doesn't mean that he's going to be able to come in and replicate what he's seen Pep Guardiola do. Doesn't mean that he's going to be able to come in and demand the respect of the players. Obviously, he's never had a managerial job. He's only been the assistant at Manchester City after retiring. So again, there's clear positives and there's clear negatives with Mikel Arteta. I think one of the biggest negatives is, again, a lot of people that are using using an argument against Marco Silva is that he's got no experience and that he had no experience before he come to Everton and that he's not won anything, he's not done anything in his career, he hasn't got that CV. That's quite similar to Mikel Arteta. Obviously he's won things as assistant manager to Pep Guardiola, but it's massively different when you're leading the team on your own. He managed City for a couple of games, I believe, and he didn't do brilliantly. But again, like I said, he's got that Everton connection, and it's almost the feel-good replacement for Marco Silva. He's the replacement that would come in and fans would go, well, yeah, it is a massive risk. Yeah, he's got no experience. Yes, we don't know how he's going to be, but he obviously was fantastic for Everton when he played for us. Some would argue he's an Everton legend, and one thing he would definitely bring is that fight, that passion, and that and that grittiness to the football club that we had under David Moyes. And again, he'd also bring some experience that he's learned off Pep Guardiola. He's not the worst man. He's not like we're bringing an Everton legend out the bat that's had no managerial experience and that's, you know, basically sat and being a pundit for the last 4 or 5 years. We're bringing in a person that sat next to one of the greatest of all time and obviously sat with him and had many discussions with him over the past few years. So again, that's the first one that's on a lot of people's lips. In my opinion, with Mikel Arteta, if it worked, it'd be absolutely unbelievable. If he come in, there would definitely be a feel-good factor around the football club. It'd be the whole welcome back. Obviously, it'd be fantastic to see him back. It'd be, you know, really intriguing to see what he could do. But again, I just question whether we'll be in the same position in 2 years' time where we're all sitting here going, well, yeah, he was a legend of the football club, or yeah, he played for the football club, but he never had any experience and he'd never managed the football club before. So are we surprised that we're in a relegation battle 2 years on from now because Mikel Arteta, you know, hasn't had enough experience as a Premier League manager? I don't know, but he's the first one that jumps out. I want to talk about Laurent Blanc as well. Obviously, former PSG manager, former Bordeaux manager, also managed the French national team as well. He's a proven winner. He's won the league on 4 times, 3 of them with PSG and 1 of them with Bordeaux. The one with Bordeaux actually being sort of a little bit more credible, obviously, to win the French league with PSG. It's not the hardest thing in the world, let's be honest, with all due respect to him. It's not the hardest thing to win it with Bordeaux in a league that had Monaco at the time who were performing quite well, that had PSG who were performing quite well, obviously some really decent teams in. That is the big achievement that you look at and you go, okay, this guy is proven to take a team that maybe the underdogs, take a team that wouldn't necessarily have that expectation of winning the league one season and actually form them into, you know, a league winning side and a side that can come together and form a unity and go on and push to, you know, to play against the odds and obviously to win the competition. So he's one that, you know, is being touted about. Obviously, again, whether it's likely or not, I don't know. He's in the odds. Obviously, it's another sort of manager without Premier League experience. Again, proven winning in his own country, proven winning in his own right, but we all know it's massively different to come over to the Premier League and be able to replicate what you've done in another country. But for me, Laurent Blanc is a good candidate because he's a manager, like I said, that has not just gone and managed PSG and absolutely smashed it out the park with a PSG team that you would expect to smash it out the park no matter which, you know, who's managing. I literally think you have to have Mr. Bean managing PSG and then win the league every year, but he's done it with a Bordeaux team that, you know, we're underdogs at the end of the day. And again, he showed that unity, he showed that type of managerial style that you want to see, a manager that comes in, riles the players together, and even if they're not the best players in the world, even if they haven't got the, you know, the most talent in the world, they're fighting and they're playing for each other, and there's that team morale and there's that team spirit there that can push any team forward. Like I said, you know, there's a massive saying in football, and that's hard work beats talent if talent doesn't work hard. And, you know, in that particular season, it was very clear that the real talent of the French league didn't work hard. I'm not saying that Bordeaux didn't have any talent. They did. They had some real talented players in that season. But, you know, altogether, they were a unit. They were a team. They had the morale and they had the feel-good factor between them, and that's what took them on. And that's what that knobhead across the park is doing with them. They might necessarily have the best players in the world. They might not necessarily have the best team, but they've got that team morale and they've got that connection with each other. And now they're winning Champions Leagues, and they're possibly even going to go on and win the Premier League. So yeah, Laurent Blanc is obviously a good candidate as well. Let me know your thoughts on that one. If you're enjoying the stream so far, by the way, please do hit that like button. It means a massive amount to me. And if you're new to the channel, please do subscribe. Share the stream as well to everybody. Let's see how many people we can get in here to discuss this topic. I am aware that Toffee TV are live as well, so probably won't get, as many as we did the other night. But share it out to as many people as possible. Hit the like button if you're enjoying as well, and let's get the conversation going. Where are we? David says Sam Flynn's mum for manager. Yeah, definitely. Kanasuke Kennedy says the Don has a set of bollocks. Let's hope so, mate. Let's hope so. Carl says if I could build a squad with it sans fair, I would have Pickford, Sidibe, Mina, Ruben Diaz, Dean, Gabamin, Gomez, Ziyech, Iwobi, Richarlison, Dembele from Lyon. Oh, I'd fucking love that. Jesus Christ, that'd be a brilliant team. David says he has the West Ham game, but if we lose that, then the Watford game, the pressure will be too intense for him to survive. I do agree with that, but I still think he's got at least those 2 games. James says, since Managerial took us over, we've gone backwards. Silva's to blame as well. I don't necessarily think Managerial's to blame. Listen, if Managerial's making the managerial appointments, then he is massively to blame, but we don't necessarily know that Managerial is making the managerial appointments. We don't know whether Managerial's literally just there as a bank account to feed money into the squad. If Managerial and Ken Wright are making those managerial appointments together, then yes, they have got to take a massive chunk of the blame, because we've had 4 massively failed managers now. Well, 3 massively failed managers. We'll give Silva the benefit of the out at the minute, but definitely Koeman, Martinez and Allardyce, and obviously Silva's looking to go that way as well. But if Moshiri isn't, anything to do with that decision, if that's a decision of maybe some board members that we aren't, particularly aware of, then you can't really blame Moshiri. David says, if the ground gets approved, then Moshiri has been a success. He's not managing the players or the tactics. Agree as well, spot on. Cal says, I would take the River Plate manager. I don't know an awful lot about him, I'm not going to lie, I'll look into it. Stephen says, Everton will go for Javi Garcia, ex-Watford manager. They did it with Silva and probably going for him, got sacked too early. Again, it shows absolutely no ambition for me whatsoever. We'll be bringing in a manager that has been sacked from a team for dragging that team into danger this season, and that team isn't as big a club as Everton, isn't in a better state than Everton, haven't got as much money as Everton, so why would we want to go in for a manager that's failed at a smaller Premier League club? I just don't understand it, but I wouldn't be surprised even, because that's exactly what we've done with Marco Silva when you think about it. DW Gaming and loads more says, Silva getting sacked in the morning, he never signed anyone who did great. I disagree. Luca Dean's been a fantastic player. There's also been, Richarlison, who's been fantastic over the last couple of years. Alex Iwobi looks decent as well, but I don't think he'd be sacked before the West Ham game, I really don't. Kazun Kennedy says, need new manager now, that crosses out many candidates like Hag. Yeah, we'll talk about him in just a second. Jeff says, right, Callum, definitely Silva out, he's clueless, looks lost and out of his depth. No plan B, barely a plan A. No fight, no plan, we lost go shite teams, not Barcelona. Fair enough. Carl says, Richarlison, Iwobi, Keane, Mina, Zuma, Dean, Bam and Gomez have been great. I agree with that one. I think there's still sort of a jury out there for Yerry Mina, and obviously Jean-Philippe Gbamin, because he's hardly played, and Moise Keane as well. But, Gomez as a decent season last season. Richarlison was fantastic. Iwobi's done well so far. Luca Dean as well. And Hernandez, WO4 says, Obi, you're well, mate. I'm not doing too bad, mate. I hope you're doing well yourself. Who do you believe Iwobi's best position is to play in the squad? How often do you get stick from the red shite? Probably in the 10, to be honest with you, but I don't want us to play with the 10, so on the left. I don't get a lot of stick from Liverpool fans. Well, I do. I get a lot of stick, but I'm one of these Evertonians that can just take it on the chin and move on. I don't think an awful lot about it, to be honest with you. Chris says, would you take Arsene Wenger? No, and we'll talk about it in a sec. And he also says, I think Arsene Wenger is too old, to be honest. Again, we'll talk about my reasons to why I wouldn't take Arsene Wenger in just a sec. So the next one on my list is arguably the one that a lot of Evertonians, I think, would jump at and would massively want managing our football club, and that is Jose Mourinho. Now, Jose Mourinho is quite obviously got the most positives of this whole entire list, and has also got a couple of negatives as well. So obviously, his positives are he's a proven winner. He's won Premier Leagues. He's won Champions Leagues. Again, he's won a Champions League with a club in Porto that weren't, favourites to win it that season. A team that he riled together to really go out there and really prove everybody wrong, which he did. He's done fantastically well in the countries that he's managed in. Obviously, he managed Chelsea successfully, managed Real Madrid as well successfully. Again, there's an argument to say he managed Man United successfully, to be honest. Obviously, it didn't end well with them, but he won them, an FA Cup. He won them a Carabao Cup, I believe, as well. He won them a Europa League. So, if we're sitting here in 3 years' time and Jose Mourinho has been the Everton manager for 3 years and he's being sacked, and people are saying, well, he didn't take us anywhere. He failed as a manager, and I say, okay, well, what's failed? And they say, well, he won you a Capital One Cup, or a Carabao Cup, whatever it's called, FA Cup, and a Europa League. I go, cheers for that, mate. That's a success for me. So obviously Jose Mourinho is a proven winner. We know he's a proven winner. He's managed in the Premier League before. Obviously, like I said at the start of the season, he's come out, he's rejected the job in France, and he said that he desperately wants to, get back into managing in England, and he's wanting to do that as soon as possible. Again, pretty much saying that whoever comes available, whichever club becomes available in England, I'll definitely take a look at it. Everton will be one of the Everton will be one of the clubs that he is 100% wanting to join if Marco Silva is to leave. One of the things I also really, really like about Jose Mourinho is that he's got that pantomime villainous about him, and that's something that we haven't had for Everton for quite a while. We haven't had that underdog villain status since, arguably since Moyes. We've always had these managers that have come in. Marco Silva, who is, a lovely bloke by all accounts, but again, you don't necessarily need a lovely bloke. You don't necessarily want a lovely bloke. Roberto Martinez, who was absolutely brilliant. He was a lovely bloke, but he couldn't manage. Ronald Koeman, who, was a dickhead to Evertonians, but to everybody else, was an alright fella. Sam Allardyce, again, media puppet, likes to jump up for the media. We need a real manager that can come in for me and not give a fuck about anybody else, not give a fuck about the media, not give a fuck about any other team, just care about Everton Football Club, this team and these fans. And I think Jose Mourinho will do that. He thrives off people hating him, he thrives off teams hating him, he thrives off managers hating him, he thrives off fans hating him. And we've seen some of Jose Mourinho's most successful clubs and most successful teams thrive off that negative energy. And I'm not saying I want Everton to be a negative club. I'm not saying I want everyone to hate Everton. I'm not saying we want to hate Jose Mourinho. But if we've got teams coming to Everton Football Club and they're intimidated and they're like, oh, don't want to play against Mourinho, or we don't like Mourinho, and he's creating that fear sort of, yeah, we are the dog's bollocks, yeah, we are, hate us, it's fucking brilliant that we hate us. That's what they thrive off across the park, is that hatred. They thrive off everybody fucking hating them, because everybody hates Liverpool. Sorry, Chris, but everybody hates Liverpool, but they thrive off that, and their manager thrives off that, and that's why they're now a Champions League winning team in the last year, and they're now challenging for the Premier League. That's what Jose Mourinho would bring. He'd bring that, I don't give a fuck who likes us or doesn't like us, I'm here to do a job, and I'm going to do that job. And like I said, obviously if you speak to Man United fans, they'll probably say, oh, we failed, we don't go anywhere near Jose Mourinho, he's too defensive, he wouldn't be able to take your club forward. And to a degree, there's worries there, and I'll talk about those worries in a second. But again, Manchester United's Jose Mourinho failure was winning a European competition. Now, if Jose Mourinho come into Everton and failed and we won a European competition, I'd be fucking over the moon. I really, really would. And if he's going to come in and he's going to instill that little bit of, we don't give a fuck if you hate us into Everton, that's exactly what I want. I want teams to fucking hate Everton. I want teams to hate playing against us. I want our manager to come out and say, yeah, I'm sticking up for these players and I'm sticking up for these fans, and all you, I don't give a fuck, to be honest with you, because you don't pay me and you don't come and support me. So, and that's exactly what Jose Mourinho's thrived off and been successful with in, obviously, his managerial career. Now, there is negatives, like I said, it ended really, really badly at Manchester United. Obviously, it ended really, really sourly. He is a known defensive coach. I think there's issues with that straight off the bat, because we don't get me wrong, we need to improve defensively, but we also massively need to improve going forward. And he was really, really defensive in his towards the back end of his Manchester United career. That's not to say that he'll change at all, but again, it's very unlikely he'll change. With his villain status as a manager, he also comes with quite a stubborn status, which we've seen, quite clearly not work in the last few Everton managers. Roberto Martinez was quite a stubborn manager, and Marco Silva's coming out to be a quite stubborn manager as well. So we've seen that not work. However, again, he's the manager that I think on this list we all look at and go, well, he ticks a lot of boxes. He's Premier League proven. He's won it, everything pretty much he can as a manager. He's won the Premier League. He's got experience of getting into that top four regularly. He's got experience of taking teams to winning competitions, and he's got experience of instilling that we're together as a team, don't give a fuck about anyone else. And for me, that's something that I think is quite, exciting for a lot of Evertonians. However, would he take the Everton job? I think he would personally, but I don't know. And would he be able to sort this mess out that we're currently in now? I don't know. If we were in a different situation, if we were a club that were, got a stable team together, a stable formation, a stable starting 11, and we were really, really pushing for those top 6 and top 4 places, a little bit like Leicester are now, then you could see Jose Mourinho coming in and doing a fantastic job at Everton. But we're not. We're in a situation where we're in the shit a little bit, and we need a manager to come in and dig us out the shit and then take us to that next step. And I don't know whether Jose Mourinho will be able to do that, because that's sort of a similar situation that Manchester United were in, where they needed somebody to come in, dig them out the shit and take them to the next step, and he couldn't do it. If you enjoyed today's team, by the way, please do leave a like. It really, really does mean a massive amount to me. Cal says, so why ask? I wish we got Brendan Rodgers. Again, Liverpool connection with Brendan Rodgers, but he's doing a fantastic job at Leicester. Cal also says, if we got Mourinho, we would 100% be a top 6 side. Fair enough. He's proven that, with a lot of his teams, he finishes naturally within that top 6, if not top 4. Eugene says, Everton need Jose Mourinho as the new manager. Marco Silva gets sacked. Fair enough. Carl says, I like Allardyce. He done what he needs to do, but he was never going to take us anywhere. David says, you what? Carl says, Cam's a crush on Jose. He's got a poster in his room. I don't have a crush on Jose. And again, there would be worries if Jose Mourinho was to be appointed as Everton manager. One of the biggest ones is the fact that, he couldn't dig Manchester United out of their rut that they're in, and they're in quite a similar situation to Everton. One of them would be that maybe his stubbornness gets the better of him sometimes, in the same way that Marco Silva's stubbornness is getting the better of him now, with his, not wanting to change formation and not wanting to change his tactics and change his personnel. But when you look at managers, and when we're talking about ambition, and when we're talking about bringing in a manager that's been there and done it and has got, proven that he can do it, you can't really look further than Jose Mourinho for managers that are available at the minute. Certainly not with Premier League experience. John says, Marcel Basella, again, a decent manager, but no Premier League experience, not proven that he can do it at this level of football. Carl says, Sam Allardyce actually got us results. He was good from December to March, in my opinion. Had Tosin and Walcott on fire. Fair enough. Eugene says, if Marco Silva gets the sack, will we go after Everton manager? I don't know. That's the whole point of the steam. That's the whole point of the conversation. Let me know your thoughts. Carl says, do you think we'd be 18th if we had Gay? Again, it's all subjective, innit? I think we'd be playing a lot better if we had a Disagana Gay, but it's down to the tactics of the manager, it's down to the overall performance of the other players, so I really don't know. David says, Inverness, Eugene. Craig says, since Silva has been manager, the only game we've won from going 1-0 down was the Lincoln game. Showed the mentality not good enough. I agree, spot on. We haven't won a Premier League game going a goal down in Marco Silva's reign. Hernandez says, Mourinho speaks fluent Portuguese to communicate with our Brazilians too. There you go, there's another positive. And David says, too much wrong with Silva. Fair enough. Has Marco Silva gone too far over the line now to be able to crawl it back in terms of winning back Evertonians? Let me know in the comment section down below. Anyway, moving on. I want to talk about a couple of managers in a sort of in a bracket together. Not to say that they're not individually good themselves, but I just think they all fall into the same bracket. And those are obviously Eddie Howe, Sean Dyche, who we spoke about at the start of the team. Eddie Howe and Sean Dyche for me have done fantastically well for their representative clubs, obviously Burnley and Bournemouth. However, there's fans that are shouting Eddie Howe, are shouting Sean Dyche out. For me, I just think we should stay away from those managers again. It'll be bringing in managers that have done well for clubs that's expectation is to finish, between 15th and 8th to finish in and around mid-table in the Premier League, which is absolutely fine for those clubs. But for me, that isn't the expectation of Everton Football Club. And Everton Football Club aren't a team that can afford to now bring in another manager that's done well at a mid-table Premier League club that might well do well at a higher Premier League club. We've done it with our last 3 managers at least in Silva. 3 of our last 4 managers in Silva, Martinez and Koeman. I think obviously Allardyce is a little bit different, but I just don't think that Eddie Howe or Sean Dyche is worth that risk, to be honest with you. We're in a situation now where we need somebody that we know and we trust can come in, dig us out of this rut and take us to that next level, not somebody that we are hoping can come in and take their career to the next step. I think the most important thing is when we're appointing a new manager is that we're appointing someone not only with experience but and is proven, but we're not appointing somebody that's learning on the job, or that again is just there to go, well, I'm only learning as well. I've only managed a team that I've got the expectation of finish in mid-table. I haven't got experience of managing a team that are wanting to finish in the top 6 or wanting to finish in the top 4, and that's the situation that we're being with Eddie Howe and Sean Dyche. Just that, again, briefly there's not much else I can say about that one. Let me know your thoughts on that in the comment section down below. Would you have either of those 2 managers? If so, why? Roberto Martinez, for some reason, is on the betting odds on next Everton manager. Let's just scrap that one straight away. I've written down here, must be joking. There's no point in even discussing it. I think some Evertonians, I think some members of the media seem to have short-term memory loss about Roberto Martinez. Again, we were in a very similar situation years ago with Martinez. It's the same one as we're in now with Marco Silva. He ain't coming back to Everton, and I wouldn't have him back at Everton. David Moyes is another one who's a little bit different. Obviously, David Moyes, it's very, very clear that we haven't had a settled team, we haven't had a settled squad, I don't think, since the end of David Moyes' Everton career. You could argue first season of Martinez's career, but even then, a lot of that team was still David Moyes'. Moyes, obviously, since leaving Everton, has went on to have an unsuccessful career as Manchester United manager, unsuccessful career in Spain as Real Sociedad manager as well. Doing a little bit of punditry here and there, speaks very fondly of Everton. Would I have him back? No, I wouldn't have him back, purely because I'm not a believer in going back and picking up things from years past. Football's changed massively since David Moyes was Everton manager, in terms of the way it's played, in terms of the transfer market, in terms of just the whole order around football overall. And I just don't necessarily think David Moyes will be able to manage in this day and age, and definitely manage a team that are wanting to take that step up. Obviously, that was proven with his failure at Manchester United. I really, really like David Moyes. He was a fantastic manager for Everton, really, really successful. But I just don't know whether he'd be able to come in and take us to that next level. Maybe he'd be able to come in and sort the defence out. Maybe he'd be able to come in and instill a little bit of fight, instill a little bit of grit, instill a little bit of passion into the team, like he did when he was the manager for so many years previous. But again, personally, I just don't know. It just wouldn't excite me an awful lot bringing David Moyes in. It would feel like the last 6-7 years had just been an absolute useless waste of energy, and we're back where we were in 2010, 2011 before David Moyes left. And again, I'm just not a big fan of that. But let me know your thoughts. I know a lot of Evertonians are open to the idea of bringing David Moyes back. I know a lot of Evertonians would be happy to see him back as Everton manager. So let me know your thoughts on that one. Where are we? David says, oh no, read that one. Jeff says it's just so Groundhog Day this. We've been here so many times. Everton in crisis should be on the club crest. We are in a ramble. Yeah, definitely. Wayne says, we might need Allardyce again after December. The gobshite would take us down this time after how we treated them. Yeah, I don't think we should go back in for Sam Allardyce. Again, similar situation to David Moyes. There's other managers out there that I think can be a little bit more long-term, and I think there's managers out there that can not only dig us out of the rut that we're in now, but then be able to, take us to that next level. And that's very much what Jurgen Klopp done with Liverpool. And I don't want to talk about them because I fucking hate them. But Jurgen Klopp was a manager that they weren't in a situation that we're in, and don't get me wrong, but they were stuck in the mud. They were, stuck in finishing 8th, 7th, 9th, and they were stuck in a position that they didn't want to be in. And Jurgen Klopp come in, and with gradual improvement, he got them further and further and further up the table to the point now where they're the best team in the league this season. So that's what we need a manager to come in to do. We don't need a quick fix, because then if we get a quick fix, Sam Allardyce comes in for 6 months, he gets sacked at the end of the season, and then we have to start over and over again. So we may as well just look for a manager now that can take us, to the next level for the next few years. Carl says, I think Mina has been fantastic, just Keane is too sloppy. Fair enough. Carl also says, I want the very sexy Nias as our manager. No. Blue Bull Fan TV says, hi mate, hope you're doing well. Andy says, hi Cam, not that I want him, but could you imagine the look and fume from the red shites if Rafa Benitez come in again? Rafa Benitez is another one we'll talk about in a second. He is apparently, a source close to Rafa has come out and said he'd walk back from China to take the Everton job. Richard Keys also said that when he was managing in Newcastle, he massively wanted the Everton job. So that's also really, really interesting with his Liverpool connection. Again, I think he's a really, really good manager. I'd take him in terms of his manager statistics and obviously his CV as a manager. I think he may be a little bit under the cosh straight away with Evertonians, and by that I mean if he lost a few games on the bounce, or if he come out and said the wrong thing, I think there would be a couple of Evertonians that will create negativity because of his connection with Liverpool. But he is a fantastic manager, there's no denying that. Obviously done massively well with them lot, done well with Chelsea as well, and has done well pretty much everywhere he's gone. Wayne says, who would be the worst manager to an assistant you could think of to appoint? Joe Bartner and Gaza would be fun. There'd be a load of them, mate. There's not even time to go into them. David says, go for big pods, or for inclusion purposes, Johnny Barnes or Sol Campbell. I'd never ever have Alan Pardew as Everton manager. Never. No matter the state we were in, I'd never have Alan Pardew as Everton manager. Eugene says, Tim Howard is the new Everton ambassador in the USA. Now, he is. Tim Howard has today been announced as one of our worldwide ambassadors, obviously focusing as well on the United States of America, which is fantastic news. So, big up Tim Howard. David says, that's nice, Eugene. I hope he has a load of flyers because we won't be going to the US again anytime soon. Fair enough. Maybe we'll look to go to the US for our pre-season this season, and hopefully, maybe I might get over there and do some pre-season stuff. Who knows? But anyway, moving on. Listen, like I said, we're talking about sort of the managers now that have got the very clear Premier League experience. There's a couple of other names that I want to throw in there. Paulo Fonseca obviously was a manager that was heavily linked with Everton before we brought Marco Silva in, and I mean heavily linked with Everton. It was between him and Marco Silva. Obviously he was the manager of Shakhtar Donetsk at that point. He was massively interested in the job. According to a lot of sources, Everton were massively interested in him as well. He didn't get the job. Obviously we went with Marco Silva, and then he has since gone to Roma. I think he's got a couple of seasons left in his contract. He said that he was open to the Everton job, but he's now he's now settled at Roma, and he's looking to do as good as he can there. So again, that's just a name thrown in the app because of obviously the previous links, but I don't think we'd be anywhere near getting him if Silva was to leave. Erik ten Hag's another one, obviously the Ajax manager, had a fantastic UEFA Champions League run last season, getting Ajax to the UEFA Champions League semi-final. Should have got them into the final as well, obviously with that first leg against Tottenham. They bottled it in the second leg, but had an absolutely fantastic team. Obviously they've since lost the likes of what's the defender called? Me mind has gone absolutely blank. Somebody help me out in the live comments. Me mind has gone absolutely blank. The young defender, what's his name? I'm going to have to wait for the live comments. But they've got the likes of Ziyech, obviously, in there. Steven Bergwijn, who was linked with Everton in the summer. Fantastic player. What's the centre-back's name? Me head's gone absolutely west here. Someone will let me know in the live comments. But obviously, like I said, fantastic run in the Champions League for Ajax last season. Obviously doing really well in the Dutch league as well. He's come out the woodwork, should we say, in the last 24 hours. He's a manager that's been De Ligt, that's him. Thanks, David. Matthias De Ligt, obviously, who was fantastic last season. Now obviously moved on to Juventus, but really blossomed under Ten Hag at Ajax. Like I said, he's a manager that's come out the blue a little bit over the last 24 hours to possibly replace Marco Silva. He's a manager that we didn't really know an awful lot in regards to links to Everton Football Club over in the last 24 hours. There's been, quite a few substantial media links linking him with the Everton job if Silva is to leave. There's also quite a few substantial links linking him to bring some of the Ajax squad to Everton. Players that include the likes of, obviously, Steven Bergwijn, Ziyech as well, David Neres, who again was massively linked with Everton in the summer, and maybe would have been an Everton player if Ajax didn't want an awful lot of money for him. Again, he's a manager that's got no Premier League experience whatsoever, no experience in taking a team into the top 4, into the top 6 in the Premier League because he's never managed here. However, has done fantastically well in the Dutch League and obviously fantastically well in Europe as well. So again, the risk there to be he's never managed in the Premier League, very similar to the risk with Laurent Blanc, very similar to the risk with Mikel Arteta in a certain situation as well, and Paulo Fonseca. However, his CV speaks volumes in terms of his managerial credentials with Ajax. Like I said, taking them to the UEFA Champions League semi-final, beating teams like Juventus on the way as well. They were absolutely fantastic in that competition last season. Their team spirit, again, very similar to what we were talking about with very similar to what we were talking about earlier on with Jose Mourinho, with various other managers. They've got this. Ajax had this sort of team spirit last season that said, right, well, we are the underdog straight away, but we know we've got talent in the squad, we know we've got potential in the squad, so, and we know we're a family, and we're going to take that family feeling into these games, and we're going to go in and we're going to give 110%, and we're going to see what happens. And that took them to the semi-finals of the competition, and like I said, arguably should have taken them to the final if they would have had a little bit more experience. So again, he's a really, really interesting manager. Don't get me wrong, I'd be absolutely I'd be really, really happy if we managed to bring him in purely because of his experience in Europe and his experience managing a team that, again, weren't favourites to get as far as they did. However, because they had talent in the squad, because they had because they believed in each other, because they believed in themselves, because they had that good motivation, that good morale, that manager that was patting them on the back and telling them that they're doing really, really well, and being able to manage them correctly. That's why they got to where they were. So I would be really, really happy if we brought him in. Again, don't know the likelihood of us bringing him in. He's managing a decent team in the Dutch League now, a team that are, in the Champions League, and a team that he's going to know can again go on and challenge in the latter stages of that competition. So I don't know whether he'd take the Everton job, certainly given the situation that we're in. But it's definitely an interesting one because it's one that's come out the like I said, come out the woodwork over the last 24 hours. Allegri is also one of them. Massimiliano Allegri, obviously former Juventus manager, won multiple Italian leagues with Juventus, so he is a really, really interesting candidate. Currently unemployed, I believe. A manager that I dare say we threw an awful lot of money at and sold the dream of Everton Football Club that we appear to be selling to every other manager he may be interested. Definitely one I think the board will be looking at. Definitely one that I think would excite the fans as well because of his previous experience and his previous credentials. However, again, no Premier League experience and no experience of coming into a club and being able to dig a club out of the situation that Everton are in at the moment. Where are we then? Where are we? Jamie says Alan Partridge. Yeah, no, I wouldn't have Alan Partridge either, but I'd rather have Alan Partridge than Alan Pardew, to be honest. Andy says I'd rather have Alan Partridge than Pardew. Exactly, spot on. If you're enjoying today's team, by the way, please do hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you're new as well. Really, we do appreciate all of the support. James says honestly, I push for that with Tim Cahill included in the background. Again, it would be a feel-good factor to that. There'll obviously be that Everton connection, obviously the connection of the both players playing under David Moyes when he had such a strong team, a team that had that morale, a team that had that confidence, a team that had that belief in them, that grit, that fight in them. However, no experience there, and a situation that, don't get me wrong, could be really, really good for the club, but also could be disastrous for the club. David says delete. Yeah, it was delete. Blue Blood Fan TV says maybe delete. Yes, it was delete. I don't know why his name went out my brain then. Carl says I want Phil Mitchell. Bloody hell, it's got Desperate on it. David says Kathy brings hassle low. Carl says haha. And Wayne says have a good evening. Thanks for giving up your time. Again, Evertonians appreciate it. Thank you very much, Wayne. Really, really do appreciate you getting involved. And David says nice one, Wayne. Yep, nice one to Wayne. Please do leave a like if you're enjoying. Like I said, last couple of managers now I want to go into before we end the scene. Rafa Benitez is one of them. Like I said, the thing that strikes me with Rafa Benitez straight away is the Liverpool connection. I understand that there's a lot of sources that have come out and said he'd jump at the Everton job, he'd love to manage Everton, he'd walk back from China to manage Everton, he'd have taken the Everton job when he was at Newcastle. Again, I think he's a fantastic manager. Obviously, Premier League experience. He's won the Champions League. He's done fantastically well under quite pressured circumstances at Chelsea as well when their fans really didn't want him. The biggest negative with Rafa Benitez is that Liverpool connection, and not necessarily because he managed Liverpool, but more to the fact that I think it could get sour quickly with Rafa Benitez if things weren't going well. Obviously, he's managing over in China now, and I just don't know whether Bill Kenwright and the board would go after a manager that's managed Liverpool, because I think they'd be a little bit fearful of what the fans would have to say. There's still a plethora of Evertonians that wouldn't take Rafa Benitez even now because of that connection with Liverpool, and I know that as a fact. So, he's one that's definitely worth looking into purely because of his CV and purely because of his managerial experience. Whether he's a potential candidate, I do not know. And the last one, like somebody mentioned earlier on this team, is Arsene Wenger. Personally, a little bit of a short and sweet one. This, I wouldn't take Arsene Wenger. I think he massively overdue his time at Arsenal. He proved that, he was a fantastic manager in his day, really, really successful manager in his day. However, I think he struggled massively towards the back end of his Arsenal career, struggled defensively as well, never had a settled defence, and struggled going forward. So I personally wouldn't have Arsene Wenger. Let me know if you've got any other suggestions in the comment section down below. If you're watching live, let me know before we end this team if you've got any other suggestions, and we'll talk about them. If you're watching a YouTube video, drop them in the comment section down below, and we'll definitely go through them. Rob says, hi Cam, hi Rob, I hope you're doing well. John says, would like to see Big Nev and the coaching staff team instead of Duncan and Tim. Yeah, Neville Southall doesn't really get on with the background of Everton Football Club, so I highly doubt that'll happen. Andy says, because Silva likes the DM position, would you tie Holgate there as he has pace and wouldn't just pass back and sideways? I wouldn't even play one, never mind two. Think of attack from the start rather than defend. I agree with the last bit of that statement. In terms of Holgate, I don't know. Marcus Silva doesn't even trust, Tom Davis in there, who was a natural central midfielder, so I don't think he'd trust Mason Holgate in there. Rob says, neither winner, someone who's won something. Exactly, I agree, spot on. And Eugene says, Everton should recall Bernard again against West Ham next Saturday on BT Sport, kick-off 12:30. I think it'd be really, really good to see Bernard start. And David says, how would Wenger get a Zimmer up to tunnel step? Exactly, there you go. But anyway, yeah, like I said, listen, I think today's team is more about having the discussion. I don't think, I don't even think we're massively close to seeing Marco Silva leave the club at the minute. Obviously, I think he's going to have at least till after the West Ham game, possibly even after the FA, after the Cup game as well, against Watford. If he's successful in either of those games, I can see him lasting even longer. I can only see him being sacked if we disastrously are beaten in both of those games. But it's definitely worth the conversation. Listen, this is an Everton fan channel. It's for the fans. It's not for the media. It's not for the club to look at and go, oh, let's not talk about replacements for Silva because it's disrespectful. At the end of the day, every time I'm logging on Twitter, every time I'm logging on social media, every time I'm coming on stream, people are commenting, people are tweeting, people are talking about replacement managers, about people coming in to replace Marco Silva. People are quite adamant that they want Marco Silva to leave now, and we're now starting to talk about possible managers to come in. So it's definitely worth the conversation, and that's why I've come on, and that's why I've discussed it. Again, no disrespect to Marco Silva, and again, there's no guarantee that he's definitely going to leave the club, but I think as a football club, not just as a fan base, as a football club, we need to be having these conversations, we need to be having these discussions with each other, and I don't want just us all to sit here and talk about it on a stream and then go off and then have our tea and talk about it with fellow Everton fans. I want the Everton board, I want Marcel Brands, I want Bill Kenwright, I want Farhad Bashiri to be having very similar situations to the ones that we're having now, to be able to stay there and sit there and go, listen, if this doesn't work out for Marco Silva, which it's looking that way at the minute, but if it definitely doesn't work out for Marco Silva, we've got a list of people in here that will be more than happy to come to Everton. Because what I don't want to happen is for us to not have these conversations, absolutely be blinded to it, go, no, we're not going to talk about that, it's disrespectful, we've got Silva, so we're not going to talk about other managers, and then Silva, continue to not be able to change anything, continue to be stubborn, get the sack, and then us go, shit, who comes in now? We've got nobody to come in to replace him. That is what I want to avoid massively. So the club need to be having these conversations, the club need to be having these thoughts, the club need to be having these discussions exactly like we are. And like I said, there's a plethora of managers there that have all got positives and all got negatives to them, but one thing is for certain for me, for absolute fucking certain, is we need a serial winner. We need to bring in a manager that has been there and done it and wore the t-shirt, not a manager that in 2 or 3 years might go there and might do it and might just buy the t-shirt and might win it, but also might walk past the t-shirt and go, don't really like that, so I'll get this one that says championship on it. Not that at all. We don't need another manager that has done well at a mid-table Premier League club, that has got the potential to do well at a club with better resources and more money and a better structure, because at the minute we are not in that situation. We are in the situation to appoint another Roberto Martinez who had potential, another Marco Silva who had potential, another Ronald Koeman who had potential. We need a manager that's got serious managerial credentials, serious, proven, winning mentality, and a manager that can come in, take this team and fucking drag them forward, because we are in a shit heap at the minute, and we need a manager that's going to come in, going to drag us out of this shit heap and then drag us forward into winning competitions and into challenging for titles, because that is the ambition of the football club apparently. According to Denise Barrett-Baxendale, who was the CEO, the ambition is to be playing in the Champions League and challenging for Premier League titles. So let's fucking see that ambition, eh? Let's show a bit of ambition. Let's go out there and let's challenge for the Premier League. Let's challenge for the the Champions League, and the only way we're going to do that is by bringing in a manager that's been there and done it before and has got the experience. Not saying it's not saying it's Mourinho, not saying it's Laurent Blanc, not saying it's Allegri, not saying it's anybody in particular, but it's definitely not Sean Dyche, it's definitely not Eddie Howe, and it's definitely not David Moyes for me at the minute, and at the minute it's not looking like it's Marco Silva either. In fact, it's definitely not Marco Silva. So let's go out there and let's get a proven winner, and let's get a manager that can go, get this team together and go, you know what, lads, you've got more talent than you're actually playing here, so fucking pick your heads up, pick yourselves up, tag ourselves out of this, and we're going that way, and that's the only way we're going. No, we'll see where we are at the end of the season, or we'll take every game as it is. We're fucking going that way, and that's the way we're going. And for me, we need a manager that's been there and done it before to come in and do that. And at the end of the day, that's on the board. Now, if Marco Silva leaves the club, it's now on the board to make that decision. And if we hire another Eddie Howe, if we hire Eddie Howe, if we hire Sean Dyche, I'll get behind them, because they're Everton managers and they deserve the time and they deserve their opportunity. But I really won't be optimistic about us challenging for titles or challenging for the Champions League at any time in the near future, because they've got no credentials to say that I should be optimistic for that. Whereas if we bring in a Mourinho, yes, it could go horribly wrong in terms of defensively, but at least we'll be sitting here going, well, he's proven. He's proven. He's won the Premier League. He's got into the last stage of the Champions League. He won the Champions League, so he's proven. What more do we want? And that is all on the board, of course. Where are we? Andy says, I know he's not available, but what about Southgate? He likes to tie kids and something different. You've seen it with England over the last few years. Again, quite like the Dyson and Howe situation. He's won nothing and he's done nothing in managerial career. So personally, I wouldn't have him, but it's a fair shout. Eugene says Everton are going back to Marco Silva. We are at the minute, definitely. David says, anyway, that's going to do it for tonight. Thanks for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. Please like and subscribe. There you go. He's taking the words out of my mouth. I won't see you tomorrow, though. I'll see you on Friday. But we'll go through all that in a minute. Gert says, Adrian Heath. Yeah, I don't know. What managerial experience has Adrian Heath got? He played for Everton before, but as a manager, I don't know. David says, nice one, Cam. Thank you very much, David. Really appreciate that. David says, no goals. Carl says, sorry, I keep going off and on. My internet is being bad. No problem, mate. No problem. David says, you're watching porn, weren't you, Carl? Carl says, we need a manager who will tell the players to stop playing shit and motivate them to make them better. It's not just that, though. We need a manager that can actually motivate the players, that can put an arm around the players, and that can drag them out of this mess that we're in now and take us to that next level. And for me, like I said, there's certain managers on that list that could potentially do that, but there's other managers on that list that definitely couldn't do that, in my opinion. Or I've not proven that they can do that. Eugene says the Ajax manager is the new Everton manager. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. Carl says, David, stop giving away my secrets, lad. And Carl says, I wanted Sammy a manager. No, I definitely don't want him anyway. Anyway, that's going to do it for today's live team. If you have enjoyed, please do hit that like button. It means a massive amount to me. Big thanks for all of the support on the live team, as per usual. Loads of people getting involved in the live comments, as per usual. So massive thank you for that. If you have enjoyed, please do hit the like. If you're new to the channel as well, subscribe. We're getting so close to 1,000 subscribers now, so I'd really appreciate that. Share the streams as well, share the videos. If you're watching the YouTube video, please do leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section. I'll try and get to as many of those tonight as well. So big thanks for watching. Really do appreciate it. Hernandez says, what days do you generally stream? Genuinely Monday, Wednesday and Friday. Certainly Monday, Wednesday and Friday throughout the international break. Usually I'll do Thursday as well for the game preview, but obviously it's not going to be tomorrow because we haven't got a game, and then the press conference reaction is usually a Friday. So pretty much Monday, Wednesday and Friday. Definitely the odd time I do Tuesday and Thursday as well. Big thanks to everybody for watching. Really do appreciate all of the support recently on the channel. It's been absolutely immense. I literally can't thank you enough. Massive thanks for 950 subscribers as well. Let's hope we can hit that 1,000 mark as soon as possible. Big thanks to everybody for getting involved today. Really do appreciate it. Don't forget to go and follow us over on our Twitter. It's @MightyBluesYT to keep up to date with all the latest news and information on not only the channel but Everton Football Club as well. Big thanks for watching. I'll see you on Friday at 6:15 for another live stream. We're going to be talking a little bit more in depth about the football club, and we're going to be having a little bit more conversation about Everton. So big thanks for watching. Please do leave a like if you have enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you soon on the Mighty Blues.